Can I tell you guys a secret? When I was a kid, I used to pretend that little people inside of me controlled everything I was doing, kind of like the movie Osmosis Jones. I love the idea of little people or things moving my body like a giant robot because my main obsession as a kid was Gundams. It's also like that Eddie Murphy movie, Meet Dave, where he's controlled by little Eddie Murphy and he eats 85 hot dogs like a maniac. But I haven't seen Osmosis Jones in a long time, and though I loved it as a kid, I was curious what I would still think as an adult. And if there's one thing that hasn't aged well, it's kids' movies from the late 1990s and early 2000s. So with that in mind, let's get into it. Osmosis Jones opens on Bill Murray's live-action character Frank, who works at a local zoo and has a daughter who hangs out there with him. Frank's big thing is that he eats like absolute shit, and his daughter is worried about his health and wants him to join her on a hike that her school is putting on for a field trip. Also, during this introduction, Frank fights a monkey for his egg, and after it drops in the dirt, he picks it up and eats it. Him eating that disgusting egg leads us to the animated part that takes place inside his body, where we meet Osmosis Jones, voiced by Chris Rock. We meet him on a helicopter where he is looking at DNA as if it were a PlayBoy magazine. This right here is exactly the kind of stuff I remember about kids' movies during this time period. Studios were always putting adult jokes like this in their movies because kids are too dumb to understand or they just don't care. Osmosis chases down some germs that were on the gross-ass egg until Frank yawns, sending everyone into his bloodstream. The song Hot Blooded plays during this entire chase, and during it, we get a car in a butt joke. He hits a major nerve, and in the end, he gets flattened. Back at the gross egg, two other cells are cleaning up the mess when one is sucked into his own backpack. This was all done by the big baddie Thrax, voiced by Lawrence Fishburne, and he melts another cell before telling everyone that he's going to turn up the heat. There's also a fun little smear ad against Mayor Flem, voiced by William Shatner, and it has this old school Civil War era score behind it. And Mayor Flem kinda sucks. He's not very good at his job, doesn't listen to anybody, and really only cares about making sure he gets reelected even though he's running Frank into the ground. Meanwhile, Frank's daughter has had enough of him avoiding the doctor, so the mayor takes over Frank's body to make him take a cold pill instead of going to be seen for his unhealthy lifestyle and also all of his pains, aches, and groans. So Osmosis Jones gets chewed out by the police chief, goes to an airport-style place to pick up the pill, and he also fails at flirting with the mayor's assistant, Leah. The cold pill brings Special Agent Drix, voiced by David Hyde Pierce, whose voice is perfect for this guy.
Drix and all, the brand that eases your coughs and sneezes.
Wow, I'm feeling better already.
With ease, Drix takes care of the sore throat, while Osmosis spots the saliva boat that mysteriously crashed from Thrax that caused the sore throat in the first place. Unfortunately, Drix freezes the only witness that can tell Osmosis who and what the mysterious threat is, which results in some more fun banter between these two characters, which honestly is a lot of what Osmosis Jones relies on, the relationship between the loose cannon cop Osmosis Jones and the by-the-book Special Agent Drix, which honestly I think works really well. The germ mob meets in the armpit for a steam bath when Thrax shows up to dethrone the current boss and take over. Now, Thrax's big plan is to make it look like he's the common cold, and then he'll make his move and be something worse than Ebola. His words, not mine. This takes Drix and Osmosis to the nose dam, where Thrax and his crew are carrying out part of their scheme. And I gotta admit, the idea that our noses have a dam to hold back a wall of snot is pretty creative. But because he's a little dummy head, Osmosis Jones causes the dam to break, so Drix has to fix it while the bad guys get away. A snot tidal wave carries them both through the nose, and on the outside, Frank sucks it back in after it's dangling from his nose. At the same time, Mayor Flem makes an address telling everyone that he wants to take Frank to a buffalo chicken wing festival in Buffalo, New York. Osmosis tries to tell the mayor and Drix about what he saw, but they write him off as bad at his job and also being a dum-dum. But then, after getting angry with Osmosis, Drix decides he does believe him and he will work with him, even though literally 2 seconds ago he was insulting Osmosis to his face. But I guess the moment the mayor did it, he was like, actually, no, you can't insult this guy. Only I can insult this guy. A flashback shows us when Osmosis Jones caused Frank to throw up on another parent during his daughter's science fair, and somehow that also got him fired from the pea soup factory? Where on earth is this taking place where pea soup factories are still a thing? Next, we are blessed with an informant germ who came from a flu shot, is in the virus protection program, and only rats on things related to influenza. He gives them information on a big meeting going down on the zit located on Frank's forehead. Our dynamic duo infiltrate the zit nightclub in their flawless disguises while they dance to blend in. Then Osmosis Jones has Kid Rock rap, and just like, why Kid Rock? He sucks, his music sucks, and this rap sucks, which makes this a stupid-ass decision all around. Thrax's big plan is to storm the brain and use a gland to make Frank overheat and die. Then he brags about all the other people he's killed doing this plan, including a little girl, and it's all so he can get a chapter in the medical books. It's crazy how this is a kid's movie, but Thrax literally just bragged about killing a kid. To no one's surprise, Osmosis Jones is made during the meeting, but Drix dances them at gunpoint, causing the zit to pop on the woman that Frank threw up on in the flashback. Even though they save the day, the mayor scolds them, fires Osmosis for his actions, and tells Drix to piss off, which I think he does because he gets on a bus to go to the bladder. Frank's daughter tells him off about how he doesn't want to go on her trip with her and says that if he and her mom had listened to her more, maybe her mom wouldn't be dead. While Frank's asleep, Thrax overheats the brainstem, which Osmosis realizes during this cool little movie theater bit. I think it's cool that they have movie theaters in Frank's body and that they play his dreams while he's asleep. And they even added people making out for an extra touch. This is all while the mayor ignores all the signs that something is clearly wrong based on the alarm that is going off in his office that he doesn't seem to care about. At the same time, Osmosis goes to stop Drix from being flushed away so they can team up once again to take down Thrax. So in the morning, even though Frank isn't feeling very well, him and his friend head off on their road trip to Buffalo, New York to go to their festival, while his daughter gets on a bus to go to her trip. It all comes to a head when Frank has to go to the hospital, which his daughter sees as her bus for the trip passes him as he's getting loaded into an ambulance. In the end, Drix and Osmosis fight Thrax, ultimately stopping his plan and saving Frank's life. Just kidding, he fucking dies. Bet you don't remember that part from this movie, do ya? Frank dies. But luckily, he doesn't stay dead for very long because his daughter cries over his body and Osmosis brings him back to life. So it's all fine. The movie ends with Osmosis getting his job back, Drix joining the force, and Frank making the hike with his daughter, but not without a little help from a golf cart. Osmosis Jones is a weird, gross movie that I had completely forgotten, and I kinda understand why I did. Ultimately, the live action part of this plot is just Frank eating like crap, his daughter being worried, and him almost dying, but in the end, he doesn't. It's not super interesting in my opinion, but I do enjoy how it switches between the live action and the animated parts, especially when something happens inside the body, and then we get to go outside and see the live action version of that thing happen. The snot dam bursting and showing a giant snot rocket hanging out of Frank's nose is one way that this movie does it, and it's also a way that this movie is super gross. There are a lot of scenes that use gross body gags that I don't enjoy at all. At one point, Frank uses his disgusting ass toe as an excuse for not wearing shoes in a restaurant. I'm not sure why Bill Murray is just putting his feet out there for free, but who am I to judge? Or the zip popping and landing in the lady's mouth. Just gross, man. I get that it's pretty much what this movie is, but this type of humor makes me feel nauseous more than anything. And Osmosis Jones does include a pretty stacked and solid voice cast. Chris Rock is great as the white blood cell loose cannon cop, and he pairs well with David Hyde Pierce's more mild-mannered approach to Drix. Plus, William Shatner as the mayor is another wonderful inclusion, as his voice is really good at playing the slimy good guy but secretly kind of not that good guy. And of course, I absolutely love Lawrence Fishburne. In my Ice Road video, I didn't praise him enough as an actor, but this man is incredible and has been some notable and iconic characters across a lot of genres. I also think that this being a New York City inspired cop plot with just body stuff instead of people lets it still hold up all these years later. It's very obvious how Frank's body is supposed to be a New York City style place. Most of the cops talk with a New York accent. The maps of his body reminds me of New York City, and also Frank lives near New York City, so that could also be the reason it feels like New York City to me. And you know what? Frank is kinda a giant piece of shit. His wife died, and so his response is to eat like shit, ignore his daughter's requests, and make her do everything for him. There's a scene in his house where he keeps asking his daughter to get him stuff, and then he has her rub out his Charlie horse. It does make it hard to root for a man who does nothing worthy of being rooted for, but at least the comedy helps a little. Like the police car flying into some butt cheeks. That's funny. For some reason though, I really liked the news bit when they say that panda animal crackers were a sight to be seen in the stomach. There's also a funny bit where as Frank's body is overheating and everyone thinks he's going to die, a group of musicians play their instruments in their final moments, just like Titanic. And we are even blessed with Bill Murray's gut at one point. Not sure if it's his real gut, but it looks pretty real. Oh, and Osmosis says that his great-great-grandfather fought the measles. That's weird. I feel like I've been seeing something about measles lately. Osmosis Jones also does a pretty good job at making the world inside the body interesting. Like the movie theaters that play Dreams, or up in the mouth there's cops that block off teeth that have cavities. Pee being the transport system for germs and other things to leave the body of Frank, and the nerve towers being what makes Frank cramp up when osmosis hits one. I think that overall, this is everything you would expect for a kids movie from 2001. Given that around the same time we had things like Spy Kids, the Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius movie, and that dumpster fire of a movie called Shrek. Yes, okay, I am one of the few people on earth who don't like Shrek. I know this will bring hate to the comments, but I don't care. It's a movie that I personally don't like, and if you want my opinions on why I don't like it, I will happily make a video explaining it. But Osmosis Jones is a movie that once I got past all the gross shit I don't care for, I had a pretty fun time with this watch, which lands this germ-inspired cop movie in So Bad, It's Good. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this, don't forget to check out my video on the John Cena Jackie Chan movie you've never heard about. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below what movie you'd like to see me cover in the future.